All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be a Pimp Your Ark. A little bit different than usual. This is 406. As you can probably see from the screen right now, he's a 2.5 billion power arc. It's not exactly going to be a lot of pimping going on, but I mean, I have some questions for 406, and hopefully some other people do as well. I think what I'm going to try to do with this video is give people an insight into an arc this big, have him answer a few questions. Primarily, I do want to thank you, 406, for even letting us look at your arc. Um, I mean, this is a pretty big deal.
It's just for my peasants like Harris.
There you go.
I knew that was coming. I already knew that was coming.
Yes.
You guys want to do any quick intros before we start?
Yeah, fuck 406.
Okay.
Hit me, TMB.
Okay, so I guess the first question that I would have for you is, obviously you have a lot of resources available. You are endgame. Why have you chosen your lineup as far as commanders the way you've chosen them?
Well, to start with, I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. Black is the king of the game at the current point in time. Nothing hits harder than Black. Hey, he has his deficiencies. You can be dodged, obviously. I run the 3-piece currently, and the benefits of that are pretty well known at this point. The biggest thing for mine, obviously, is my AI bot, which is 100. So I have maximum leadership, maximum attack potential out of my Black. And as far as killing tanks goes, there's nothing better in the game. As long as he can land the hit. So, and for the ones that can dodge me, running infantry and whatnot, you have Ira, who at this current point in time, realistically, probably the second best commander in the game. Pretty hard to fault Ira. She, as long as you can miss, pretty much nothing you can't kill. I also run a 3-piece on Ira. So having the benefit of the 3-piece, the first strike is, I mean, that changed a lot in the game, to the detriment of a lot of players, but to the advantage of players like me who have the stuff, which I don't want to sit up here and brag, but I mean, I've got it, I'm going to use it.
Of course.
And then thirdly, I have Craig, who, for the longest time, infantry, the biggest thing with infantry is you couldn't tank. You just couldn't. People tried. Stella was good for a period, but her deal was more dodge disable than it was actually tanking. Then Craig came along, and Craig is the first viable infantry commander that can actually tank. You can sit there and throw Craig out and line him up with a Black, and Craig will usually win. He can take the hits. He can disable disable your skill trigger, which is kind of how he does the majority of what he can do. When you can't trigger your skills, you don't do a lot of damage, and Craig can just sit there and chew at you. And yeah.
So I have a question. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and then there's this, which is kind of the new talk of the community right now.
The work in progress.
Yeah.
We'll leave it there. Leave it there.
So this is the new commander, obviously. S-class.
Beautiful.
And yeah, looks extremely promising. Obviously is a Walker tank. Probably going to be the replacement of Elf. Now, granted, it's going to take a while for the majority of people in this game to get him to S class because the shit wasn't cheap. But when he finally does start making his way throughout the game, he's going to take over Elf's position as the top of the line Walker tank.
Now,
and
like
DS is.
I just wanted to touch on that real quick. I don't want you to like give out too much information. I understand he's new and there needs to be testing, but before he came out, did you have Elf in that position?
No, I've never ran
Okay.
Elf. Until recently, I always ran Air Tank. I was a Rogers main when Rogers was king. I switched to Reinhardt, and I ran one of the biggest Reinhardts in the game for a long time. I did multiple Cassitans with my Reinhardt, and I did a lot of damage, killed a lot of people. When Orochi kind of came into being, I switched to Orochi and did that as well. And I will kind of give Harris's props a little bit, as we've kind of been running together for a while now, and we always bounce ideas off each other, and we tend to run the same shit a lot, because we figure out what works and what does good in the current meta. And so for the longest time, Harris and I were both running Orochis. Then when Orochi started to fall out of favor, we both started running blacks. The hybrid black build, and now the meta, the hybrid black build is still a great thing, but
it's no buck upset.
Okay.
It's just a matter of trying to stay on the leading edge, because in all reality, when we get into GC matches and finals and fighting these guys who, you want to look at the leaderboard here, fighting the guys like Evan and the other bigs from TNB, and when we face CHN and whatnot, all these guys have the same shit I do and more. Because I'm the biggest player in 780, but I'm only 2.5 billion. There's plenty of arcs who got way more shit than I do, and I try to stay as relevant as I can, so we can match up with those guys. And currently, Elf is the big thing, which you'll see if you look through all-star boards, and basically every big fucking commander in peak contest, you'll see an Elf in basically everybody's lineup. All the big guys have Elf. Well, there's one surefire way to kill an Elf, and that's a big-ass black.
Of course.
So that's what I do.
Where's Italia? Oh, I'm sorry.
And then you were gonna.
Oh yeah, no. Give Neva his props. His Italia works decently.
Decently.
That is
decent.
This is one of those times where somebody throws a shot at Neva and he's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna take that."
Oh yeah, for sure.
What is he gonna tell FourOSix? Come on.
you were gonna touch on your DS before I interrupted you.
Oh no, I was just saying DS is there.
Oh, okay.
It's nothing special.
Okay. Now, you can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but the way you spoke about your commanders, personally, I took that as you have 3 main commanders: Ira, Black, and Iron Fist, and the other 2 are just kind of there. Is that fair to say?
Pretty much. I don't have the troops right now to run him as a full March commander. So that's my next big ticket item, is going to be building up my walkers, because I've never had to. I've never ran walkers. I've always been air, and I have over the last season or so, I've started running infantry a lot more. Now I have two comms that run infantry, my Iron Fist Craig and my Ira, but I was always air, and so walkers kind of just got put by the wayside. And I mean, I have them, but I don't have the army I need to effectively run this new comm. So that's my next big ticket item is got to build the army. It's you can have the comm and you can have all the bells and whistles, but if you don't have troops, don't really matter.
That's true. Yeah, so I mean, we've brought up in Gear Talks and in Pimp Your Arcs previously, and being such a big arc yourself, we tend to advocate for focusing on one commander and then second, third, fourth, fifth, and it kind of sounds like that's what you've been doing. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. And that's 100% right. Anybody who is in the smaller end or the lower end of power, and I say that, comparatively when you're talking about end game, if you're in the 200, 300, 400 mil power arcs, you 100% should be focusing on one commander. That having a bunch of different commanders with 100,000 leadership when your main commander has 500,000 leadership is a waste of time. It works in peak and it works in all star, but if your main point of this game is to PvP, then you are doing yourself a disservice. You need to have one main with good gear, and you need to have your leadership, your AI, and your tech should be focused at what you're trying to do as a main. And then everything else is just secondary. Having a Sister Wolf, having a Hancock, having whatever, your utility comms is great, and everybody should have them. But that should never come at the expense of your main. I just have gotten to the point now where I can't add leadership, so black is completely maxed out. Iron Fist Craig is a max commander. Ira is a max commander. I'm working on my next group of leadership as Dragon Slayer. She's at 570,000. And then I have Oddball. I have the new guy. I'll just transfer leadership off of one of the three. Not going to say who, but one of the three will be getting with him as a max commander. And then you go down the list here. Where Sister Wolf. Like I have a 70,000k Sister Wolf. Or 70,000 leadership Sister Wolf. With Mind Map, she's on the bench right now. I have all these comms that I use in situations, but all the rest of the leadership is all small. I think Hancock is probably my next biggest chunk of leadership, and I want to say he's not even 10,000. I've scrolled by him like 3 times now. There he is. Yeah, 6,000.
Okay.
But no, what that point of what you were making is 100% correct. Those guys, you should be focusing on one main until you get that one to a usable point. And I mean, it's good to have multiple options, but your main commander should be your number one focus at all times, if you ask me.
I mean, yeah, I would personally completely agree. Just from my experience and like it. So a lot of the people watching this, it's a little bit different looking at FourOSix's arc because he has more resources available to him. His research is, if not maxed, it's very high for the 3 different tiers. But the fundamentals of how you want to build your arc are pretty much the same whether you're going, walker, infantry, or air.
Yeah. Well, and earlier in the stream, I don't know if it was Neva that said it or if it was Bane that was saying it, but or maybe it was you. But basically, it was the narrative was if you were below T11, you need to be infantry, and I agree with that. It's the easiest path to run, gives you the most options to run. The talents that are out now are, as far as the damage and whatnot goes, definitely lean towards infantry. And I don't care. I mean, pretty much everybody knows I have all this shit maxed, so it's what it is. But
Yeah.
You get into these third tier talents and power shot. If you're an infantry main, just ignore the bottom two tiers and run your way down the infantry tract until you get into these higher end talents. And I mean, a tier 9, tier 10, tier 11, you have so many options of what you can do. Stella, Gilly, Nekajiro, Ira, King at T11. And you even have the utility of being able to use, airship comms with a guaranteed hit airship comms like Dragon Slayer with your tier 9 or tier 10 infantry. And that gives you just so many more different options. And when you're at that stage of the game and you're generally trying to fight uphill, bigger players, higher tier troops, this and that, well, your main weapon is to do damage and get out. One slot bust, or you're not going to sit there and run a full march and you're not going to win. You're just going to lose all your troops, and then you're not going to be able to heal You're not going to be able to heal it, and you're going to have a bad day. Kind of like if you full marched into the world boss and died dramatically, like somebody else on this stream.
Hey, Harris loves marching the world boss.
I think another important thing when it comes to building your arc that FourOSix did touch on, and that we've tried to discuss, myself, Neva, Harris, and Bane, is that your main commander is your main commander, but you don't want to necessarily throw too many resources into an alternative just to have that alternative. You kind of want to build your arc to do something else and trust that your teammates are going to back you up and be able to make up for your shortcomings. Because I mean, even with a 2.5 billion arc, like, you don't have every commander at your disposal at all times.
No, and
Is that
that's
correct?
100%. I mean, so in this game, you can run 5 comms. You can be ODAD and have 40 max lead commanders, but you can only run 5 at a time. And there's going to be situations where you don't have the right one. That's why this is a team game. You need to focus. You, as your own arc, should be focusing on something useful for your team. Which, I mean, there's a multitude of different ways you can go. Sweep Pen Ira is a very popular one nowadays, and for good reason. It's a really good commander. It's not absurdly expensive to run. It doesn't require top tier research. In fact, it's kind of the opposite because you don't want the accuracy. But guys that run, I mean, we're in Cast 10 right now, so every Reinhardt is back in the game. And Reinhardts are a good commander, but they fill a certain niche role. You get guys that run the IRAs, they fill a niche role. You get guys that run Stellas, disable comms. They do very well, but it's a role. Every comm has a role of what they do and what they can kill, and finding your niche and what role you want to play as a part of your guild and your team. That's how you become successful.
Okay. Just so you know, your stream kind of got a little blurry again.
Well, shit.
Sorry. I mean that was kind of the questions, and like I'm trying to give like advice to newer players, you know, looking at your arc. Does anybody else have any questions for 406?
Hi, FourOSix. It's Belle. I have a question.
Go for it.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but I'm going to ask because I want to make sure. When you started, you have all of your technology maxed out now. Pretty much everything except I think you said defense earlier when we were talking. But where did you start? It was all air, right? Because you said you were an air main to begin with.
Yeah. I started.
That was. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just wondering, did you focused on all air to max that out first before you moved over to the other troop types?
Yes. So I got to T9 as an infantry player, and because way back in the day I played Bullet, and then I think I went Stella for a while, and when I think it was when Dragon Slayer came out is when I started switching over to air. But through the advanced research, this tab, I went down the track of air basically until I got all the way to hyperspace and then tier 12, because when you stay in one lane, and it's been beat to death over and over and over again by people telling newer players to max your one line, whatever troop type you're in, stay in that troop tier and go with it. And that's true. I mean, the more you try and spread out your technology when you're still at that stage of the game, the longer it's going to take you to get anywhere significant, because if you're trying to level up multiple different classes, I mean, unless you're spending an ungodly amount of money to get all the hyperspace and unlimited crystals you need, you're slowing yourself down by not just focusing on one troop tier or troop type and maximizing your tech in that particular troop type.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I can see that, and that's kind of what we preach here on, you know, talking with 780 guys when it comes to, you know, Pimp My Arks and Gear Talk. Is, I mean, and you heard it from, you know, pretty big and probably well-known player. Like, pretty much we're preaching this for a specific reason, and you know, we don't want to get you guys off track. We really do want to, you know, help you guys, and by helping you guys, I would assume for 406, he likes fighting, he likes the challenge, so by helping you, you're giving him a challenge, and then everybody gets to enjoy the game.
I don't like fighting. I mean,
He doesn't
Yeah.
fight. He breaks the toys.
no, I don't. I don't fight.
It's when 406 hits you, it's not considered fighting. You don't have a fighting chance.
Your win rate.
Hey, that's
It's called dying.
Hey, that's not true. That's not true. 406, I beat you one time, right?
In a sim?
Like
we
twice.
don't call it fighting. We call it dying.
That's a pretty impressive
But-
win
I
rate.
was
Yeah.
still going to make that winners cup. 406 on one side and Harris on the other, because I beat them both in the same day.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean,
And then she shielded up and quit.
well, and it's
Hashtag life goals.
You got lucky.
it's all about playing to your matchup. Like we had a guy on what was his name? Monkey Nuts or whatever.
Monkey toe, yeah.
Yeah, who
Yes.
he bragged endlessly. I remember him bragging about how he had 100,000 battles. And you go into his profile and you look at it, he had 100,000 battles. He had like 4 billion kills. It's like, dude, and you're just spamming people at that point. That's not, you can say you like to fight, but all you're doing is just spamming tiles. Fighting in PvP is about fighting intelligently. And you look at mine here. I have 24,000 battles. I've won 21,000 of them. Like, you got to fight smart. You got to know you can't just blindly send in. No, I mean, you can have fun, like what we're doing with Lem. You throw your march in there and go to town, but you also we're not. I mean, besides Lem, guys aren't throwing full marches in there. You're just playing for fun. But when you're actually fighting in capitals and fighting in borders and whatnot, and even in GC, take the matchups that you can win. If you can't win, don't lose. Like, all you're doing is costing your team points, time, especially nowadays in the way GC is played. Time is as big of a factor as almost anything. And yeah, it's something that I know you guys harp on, and a lot more people should harp on it. Is if you can't win, get out of the way.
Right.
And I do it. I'm a 2.5 billion arc, and if I look at a fight and I know I'm going to lose, I'll get out of the way.
That's really important advice to take away.
Well, like I said, this at the end of the day, this is a team game. If you want to play this game for individual rewards, play in your own fucking guild. But you're playing as a part of a team. Don't trying to go for glory. Yeah, trying to go for glory and get a big kill. While, yeah, that sounds great, but if it comes at the cost of fucking your teammate behind you, then it's not worth it. It's not what this game's about. It's not how you're supposed to play it. The point is to win as a team. If your only goal here is individual rewards, well, it's good for you, I guess, but sorry for your teammates.
Yeah.
There again, the only reason I have a big march is mine's the last line of defense on my arc.
And if anybody was wondering, because I was wondering, 406 has an 88.24% win rate, which is pretty impressive. And that probably kind of goes back to his, what he just talked about, picking your battles. It's not necessarily about I'm gonna throw everything out there.
It's not about fighting every battle that comes your way. You gotta pick and play smart.
Yeah.
And trust in your team.
Yeah, we preach it all the time. It's about coordination. If you're playing in a capital and you got 4 guys that all have the same comm back to back to back to back, Well, you guys should probably pull and change it out. Mix it up. Let another teammate get in between you guys, or let something, And it's about just, well, okay, so you got to move back in line 4 spots. Well, okay, so you move back in line 4, but you're helping your teammate. You're helping your team out by not just taking a loss for no reason.
Mhm.
And the way Captain is nowadays with the weenies, which everybody hates.
Yeah.
Everybody uses them and everybody complains about them, but it is what it is right now. And taking a loss, and that can change the outcome of a match when you're teetering on of getting locked out of a capital. So just standing in there for your own pride is strategy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions for FourOSix? Any insight that you might want to glean?
Nah, I think I'm good. I mean,
I don't think there's really
one of the
much.
most.
That
Just
just
came
makes
sports
reference
important.
for
It's enough what
the
he's been
for
talking
the
about this whole
job.
time, So always
Well,
He
not
needs
too
more
much.
leadership.
For us.
He needs more leadership.
Right.
Slacking, man. Need more leadership. Need 12 max league comms. Even though you can't play with 12.
Why aren't you 3 billion and make a round number instead of 2.5?
Yeah, I know. I don't want to be associated with crack chicken, so I want to stay out of that billion area.
just wait until he builds his Walker troops.
Oh yeah, when them troops are there.
Oh Jesus.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna close this Pimp Your Ark down, even though I don't know if we actually pimped anything. I want to thank FourOSix.
Yeah.
What's that?
406. Max your lightning pierce, wench.
He gonna fuck you up.
Peasant.
All right. Bane's just mad that I ran a Stella like his last year or last Castatan, and
It was nothing like mine. It was way better.
That's what his wants to be.
Hey, quick question. Are we still
What's that?
Are we still recording?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
I mean, we're
No,
gonna wrap
just
it
saying
up.
that. I mean, 406 did bring up a great example.
You're robot
You're
right now. We
breaking
can't
up.
really hear you.
But
Robot.
we won't go into that.
We didn't really hear what
Robot,
you
my
said.
friend, robot.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I think when 406 kind of said about focusing on one commander, moving all your leadership to that, and build up that one, and then work on your next one. I kind of felt like that was a hint at Bane, but
Yeah. I was about to say bang.
I specifically said it works great in All Star and works great in Peak, but
What you're saying is Bane's a one trick pony.
I have lots of tricks. I just can't beat the massive tricks.
it's just a small trick.
I have umpteen small tricks, one medium-ish trick.
406's small
But hey,
trick is
I've
just
beat
being
406 before.
good. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys showing up. I appreciate you 406 for letting us look inside your art, giving some insight. Hopefully, I don't know, but hopefully seeing 406 on the channel will incentivize some of you smaller guys to, come on and get some advice. These EXE guys, they know what they're talking about. They've got experience. Yeah, some of them spend a lot, but the fundamentals of what we're trying to do and help the community is, what we're really here for.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and it's okay if you can't understand what Harris is saying. The rest of us can't either.
Oh, shut up, you slag.
Well, if he would quit choking on the mic, we'd be all right.
Yeah. Just asked me to take 2 inches back.
Oh, God.
He was 0.5.
All right. Does anybody have any closing remarks you'd like to make before we end this?
Nah, just thanks for joining the channel, man, and hanging out with us for a bit and showing off your arc and giving us that good insight. And other than that, let's go kick some ass out there and don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, props. You copied my Stella perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Hit me, TMB. Hit me.
All right, everybody. Yep, hit me up in Discord if you'd like to schedule a Pimp Your Ark of your own. We're here to help. Until next time, thank you, 406. Thank you, Harris, Lem, Bane, and Neva. I'm the Grinch, and we're out.